Cool. Okay. Let's go through it. So the task was use the node example and add the possibility of adding a new task item, change the name, mark as completed, deleting an item, and deleting a user. So let's see, take them one by one. Adding a new task. That's here, right? Yeah. Just cool. Yeah. One thing I think you had problems with the now stuff. Yeah. So you remember the stuff we had with databases last time when we talked about the now function. Let me just. You can do select now, and then you'll get the current timestamp, or the current date and time, and stuff like that. So I helped Isaac in the chat. So what he tried to do when inserting a new task was setting the created timestamp to this, and that gives you an error because the now function doesn't exist in JavaScript. And even if you do it like this, that still doesn't work because with these
escaping?
Yeah, with the escaping, I think it is. It means you can't insert. This will be treated as a string, so it just tries to insert a string into it. Yeah, it's just text. It tries to insert text into a date time field. But JavaScript has the date function, which gives you the current date and time. So do that here. So in JavaScript it gives you, the equivalent of that, the new date. And in this case, this will be running on the server, on the Node.js server. So it's going to use the same time anyway. So you can use the new date function here. One other thing you could do instead of using this function in Node.js is you could do something like this. See if I can do this without. Could do this, where you use the placeholder for the title and stuff like that. But it's longer, and it does the same thing. So you might as well use this since the new date stuff that works for Node.
It might be worth mentioning that the syntax for the insert is a bit different here. It's basically the same as the update, where you use the set and then the some values. I think it's only supported by some databases, so it's not as standard as the other.
Okay.
You just wrote.
Oh yeah.
So for instance, in Postgres you cannot do that.
So yeah, here you could do. You can do that and put stuff into the book table. What Fleming said was, if you do and continue like you did here, that works fine in MySQL, but not in Postgres. I don't know the Microsoft
Yeah, that's it might work. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But you can always try it out, of course.
Yeah. Cool. The next one. So change the name, due date, or the status of a task item.
For that one, I don't know what I was doing was right, because I looked for the name and it was giving me an error. I was changing the title when it fulfilled the task.
Okay. Oh yeah. I think that's the wording of the. So if I do. I can't get the right keys. Yeah, it's supposed to be titled. That's good. That's actually something we should change in the homework.
I thought maybe it was with the user table.
Yeah.
I also got a challenge to join the two tables, but later when I was doing
that's our bad. We'll change this to title. It should be title.
Maybe I can do that now.
Yeah. I don't know if you have access to commit, but you can just do it and then get access from Christopher. This is basically what the documentation says as well. You update, use placeholders, and then pass in the titles and the stuff you need. Just along the way, if there are any questions, just stop us. Marking a task item is completed. Let's see. This is the same, I guess.
That one messed up my one.
This one.
Yeah.
So how
I did like I was doing that. Then I saw almost everywhere where the ID was matching 3 was changing the title. I think it's like.
So I'm guessing.
If you can look the way I did it.
Yeah. Is it here somewhere or?
Yeah. You go up a little bit. It's that.
Okay, yeah. So this is the one you did, right? Yeah. So this, I think you're trying to update. This actually means, I don't know if you can actually do this. It means updates 2 tables.
Sorry?
So this query, update task, means update the task table and the status table.
Because I was looking for a way of making like inner joining. Yeah, in JavaScript, I read somewhere they were giving such kind of joining tables with comma.
I've never done this on an update. I don't know if you can actually do it.
I'm not sure if it's possible.
It ended up messing up.
Yeah, I could imagine. I think so. Yeah. So anyone have an idea what you should do instead? So what we want to do is we want to update one particular task and set it as done or completed. So in pure like SQL without thinking about Node, we want to say, let's say, select I.
Because there I thought again in task we don't have this update, so I needed to join the status.
The task table is joined with there is a 3 tables: user, task,
and status. Yeah.
So task table has a join with I think user and.
So when you're let's take the ER diagram again, so you can find it here. So we have this diagram of the database. So the task has. So if you wanted to reassign, or let's say you wanted to change the status of a task, what would you need to change? So, for example, So if I have all these tasks, they will have a status ID. Let's say we want to mark this one as done. So we want to mark task number 35, learn about NoSQL databases. Instead of in progress, we want to mark it as done. So we changed to what?
2 to 3.
Yeah, exactly. So we go back to the code. So what we'd want to do here is we want to say update task set status ID equals where ID equals something. So like this, right? And then you pass in whatever, 3 or whatever it is, and then the ID of the task, so in this case 35.
I needed to join the status table.
I think you do that when you want to get results out of the table. When you want to update a table, or update an entry in a table, you don't want to join or anything because it's not usually not needed.
So it will not restrict that there is a primary key and the foreign key. When we try to update the child table, it will not restrict us that you need to update first the master table.
No, because it already exists. So in this case, you're updating this task, right? From 2 to 3.
Yeah.
So we can try and do it here in the console. Update task. Set status ID equals 3. Where ID equals 35. So we could do this, right? And then we say 1 row changed. And now we get status ID 3. So you're limited to the fact that you cannot change something that doesn't exist. So if I, let's say, do this, that's going to fail. Because it doesn't exist in the status table. Or if I do this, it's also going to fail because it doesn't exist. But I can set it to 1, 2, or 3. So you're limited in that regard, that you can only set it to something that that exists in the status table. But you don't have to join the tables when you're doing it.
I got it wrong. I thought status ID was in the status table.
It just points to the status table. You see here. Let's see if we can get back to this thing. So deleting a task item. Yeah, perfect. That's pretty straightforward. I think you did. Yeah. Yeah. So the join stuff is only for when you need to select stuff, when you need to find stuff in the database, or merge to find stuff, to find the username or all the tasks and stuff like that. When you delete entries, you can just. So in this case, we say we want to delete a particular task item. Oh, sorry, that was the one. We want to delete a specific user. Yeah. So in this case, it would basically be the same as this. You would just say user where ID equals something. Because you remember we had the thing where if you delete a user, then all their tasks will also disappear. So you don't have to delete the tasks or anything first.
Yeah, because when we make the database, then we declare this thing. Then we
exactly.
Delete the user. If we didn't mention, then it will restrict us.
It's
on delete cascade, which is down here somewhere. Yeah, there it is.
foreign key constraint.
Oh, yeah. There it is. Yeah. So the part is this thing, which means when you delete the user, the tasks will disappear.
What was confusing me now that I'm understanding is that we are able to select like a single table and you do the editing there. I thought maybe we have like a point or a center table, like task. So if we need to access this, then we need to join.
So you always.
So we need to join. Yeah. So now I get it. You can point like on a specific table.
Yeah. And that's correct if you're finding data, like select user and task and status name and stuff like that. When you're deleting or updating stuff, you usually just refer to the rows by ID. So if you
that specific table.
Yeah. So here, if you want to delete a user, you just do like here. You say, I want to delete user. Select ID name of user. I want to delete this. I cannot pronounce, but you'll just say delete from Cool. Got cool. So let's jump to the next. I don't think there was anything more, was there? Create a new database containing the following tables: class and student. So, anyone else wants to give it a stab?
I do not.
Did you do it?
I do that.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so we'll have to rely on Isaac then. This is what you have done here, right? Yeah. Class. I'll just copy this out so I can, so it's easier to have in a single, then we can see everything. Perfect. Table class. Table student. Just a bit easier to see when it's in separate. There we go. So, I see you have the start date and the end date as varchars, which is just the string, right?
Date and time.
Yeah, so we want actually only a date for the begins and ends. So what would you use instead of, because you can store a date in the varchar if you want to, that's fine, but then you're not going to be able to do all the time-specific stuff in MySQL as easily. So if you wanted to use something else than varchar, what would you use? There is, we can try and see we're using 5.7 I think. Why is it always linking me to the 8 manual? Well, there it is. So you have these 3 different data types that store something related to time. So in this case, we probably use this one. So we'll probably do this instead, because then you can just store a date like in the format of this. Hi. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah, that looks good. So I guess here so this class ID foreign key, what should that point to?
Sorry?
This foreign key?
When I was, if we can go to the question.
This one?
To the question.
The question, yeah. Let me just, there we go.
Somewhere you see the class ID.
Yeah.
So when I was creating the class ID, let's go. Put just class inside without mentioning it before. They were giving me an error that there is no class existing. So I had to create it first.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, because this says that it points to itself, right? So this class ID is correct. It says it's an integer, not null.
But in the questions, I think there was no task to get that class before.
Our class is here. So there's a class table and a student table, right? And this class ID we want to point to the class table. So the only thing that's missing is actually just this should be class.
So it points to the table above.
Yeah. So this still works, but it means that you have a foreign key that points to itself. But actually means you can't insert the first row, I guess. Well, you can.
I'm not sure how that's going to work.
No. But it just means, I'm guessing it's just a typo, but it's just to say class, because this sentence here is foreign key class ID references the class table, which is the first one I get.
That's right. We have class ID, and again we have class ID.
So the first part here, it says foreign key class ID, which is the one you defined right above, references the table class and the field ID. So that's just it. And before, when it said student, still works, but it says the foreign key class ID references the student table, which is itself, and the ID column, which is the ID column.
It will give the error, or it will work.
You can create the table, I'm guessing, but you're not going to be able to insert the first row.
But still
Because it is creating the foreign key in the itself table.
Yeah, exactly.
it will create, but it won't be pointing anyway.
We can try. Let's see if we can just create database test stuff. Let's see. Create table class. Let's see what happens if we create it with a foreign key to itself. Let's see. So yeah, we can actually do it. That's a big S. Let's try and insert something into student. Null. The thing is, then I have to insert something into the class, which I can't, I guess. No. What am I missing? Values. Oh, I can actually. If I predict the key, I guess I can.
Maybe it's because it's not a constraint. I'm not sure if that's the reason.
I cannot insert this. So actually, you can do that if you know the ID beforehand, which you do because you can calculate it, I guess. But I'd never do. I'd never do it. But
it's a bit dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah, create an index. So you have that as well. Where'd it go? Yeah, that's basically it. Create index on student name. It just makes it faster to search for student names. Yeah. Yeah. So this is the last one is add a new column to the class table named status, which can only contain the following values: not started, ongoing, finished. So what you did here is you added just a text field, and I can put anything I want into a text field, right? It still works. But let's say we wanted to limit it to only have those values listed here. So what was it? Not started, ongoing, and finished, and as strings. So let's use what is called the enum. So it's basically a string type that can only contain specific values. So you can see the example they have in the manual here, which is
shirt size.
Yeah. So this is the, let's take your example. Your example was alter table class, add status text, right? Let's say we wanted to add an enum instead. So then we would just replace text with was not started going and just finish. So this would just add that field, but you can only set it to one of those three values instead of anything for text. Yeah, not many people use enum anywhere. I haven't used it very much, but it's there. Usually use boolean or something instead, or just an integer for statuses. Hey. Sorry? Okay. Cool. I think that was done with the homework. So.